exciting part, which is our guest speaker. And so today I'm so pleased to bring on Francis Chng, who's the head of talent acquisition covering Asia Pacific from Zoom. You know, one of the recipients of the email blast that I sent out came back and said, oh, I didn't pay attention and I thought the whole event is run in Zoom. You mean you actually gonna bring a speaker from Zoom? I said, yes. And so she quickly signed up. All right. I don't know if you're here, but that's fine. Okay. So Francis Chng is a licensed recruitment professional with more than 15 years of combined experience from agency executive search and in-house recruitment, including direct sales experience across the telecommunications, technology, and HR consulting industries. At the organizational level, his core skills lie in his acute observation, we call it spidey sense, of future leaders with high potential when talent spotting, in particular for clients with an ambiguous agenda, to build a strong team from ground zero. And you know, I actually wrote this paragraph for him because of my conversation with him, and he left such a indelible impression on me. I'll leave you to be the judge. But at an individual level, he has placed over 500 professionals in executive level roles and is extremely well regarded by many as both their career and life coach. So apart from earning his MBA from University of Strathclyde Business School, where he returned to lecture for a strategy module on an adjunct basis, Francis is also a certified NLP practitioner. Whoa, it can really get so good when you have a session with him. He's recognized by the American Board of Neuro-Linguistic Programming. And so today he's going to talk about the art of being happy in your job search. Who better than Francis, who's in talent acquisition, to share with us his perspective. Okay, Francis, over to you.
Thank you very much, Elaine, and really humbled and flattered to be invited by you for this session. In fact, looking at the participant, I think you were telling me 40 to 50, and then suddenly it became 100. So,
yes.
I'm like, wow, okay, I think this topic is a very interesting, hot topic for everybody. So, but before I get started, I just want to say this, okay, whatever I speak, whatever I share is all in my personal opinion and experiences along my journey. It doesn't represent the opinions of my company. So I'm here in my personal capacity. Okay,
Thank you
let
so
me
much.
share my slide.
Okay, everyone who can see his slide, please put a 1 in the chat, just so we know.
Can you see?
Nice, you got a lot of 1s in the chat.
Okay. It feels like a live those China show where okay, 大家点一.
Oh.
Okay, so first of all, thank you for the introduction, Eileen, and once again, really a very sincere thank you to you for inviting me to share my personal experience and journey. Now, this topic of happiness, I think is very close in the heart of everybody. In fact, it is a topic that immediately when Eileen shared with me, I straight away jump on it because happiness is naturally in myself. And by the way, in Zoom, we do have this crew, and I'm part of the Happy Crew in Zoom. So I lead the Happy Crew activities in Singapore for our employees in Singapore. So I help to run happy events, and I think I have 1 or 2 Zoomies here on the call as well. So they would know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to share my thoughts. But before that, let me kind of walk through everybody on my career journey, because this is important. I think this will help everyone to also relate back along the way to some of the things I'm going to be talking about. But first thing first, 25 years or 25 plus years of experience in total. I actually have to openly share with everybody that like all of you, I didn't discover happiness right at the start. Happiness is a lifelong journey that you keep experimenting and you keep trying out. And along the way, you will find it as you get nearer and nearer to it. So in my career, as you can see, I have quite a diverse background where I started in advertising. I did production house, ad agency, and at one point of time, I was with a media owner. Those of you who are in my generation, you'll be familiar with Singapore Cable Vision. The younger ones would be probably scratching their head, who's Singapore Cable Vision? Well, technically, StarHub acquired them. So that's where I ended up spending 5 years in advertising. Now, at the 5 years mark, I hit a point where I look around, I say, I don't see enough white hairs in the industry. I said, this cannot go on. Something is not right. I need to go out and see the world. But that's where I went on to do technology sales. And that was the post-911 period where everybody was talking about business continuity planning, disaster recovery. So I had a lot of fun for 2.5 years going around frightening companies about, hey, you need to do this or otherwise your business will go down. And at the 7.5 mark or close to 8, I hit a point where I said enough is enough. And that's where the hunt for happiness gets stronger, where I said I need to be happier in what I do. And lo and behold, I ended up in headhunting. And that was where I joined my very first retail boutique firm. And that was another interesting journey, which if there's time, I'll share more. But I only was with that firm for 3 months. And then I subsequently went on to join MRI Network, which the local brand name was Eximus Group. Spent a good 10 years, had a lot of learnings from there. In fact, learned a lot from my late mentor. And even at the peak, in fact, I took over the business from him, ran it for a couple of years. And in fact, I even set up a training business, teaching candidates on how to look for a job. And guess what? I never looked for that opportunity to go in-house or return to corporate. The opportunity came to me, and I ended up joining Talent, which was a big data technology software company, which was a post-IPO. They had a lot of fun in there, and then subsequently Databricks came along, which was a pre-IPO. So as with all humans, you've done a post-IPO, you're always curious, cat to know what a pre-IPO is like. I hopped on it, I went in, did it for a season, and ended up nearing the 1 year mark. Zoom came knocking on the door, and looking at the happy culture of Zoom and being a happy person myself, I can't turn away from Zoom, honestly. So that was why I ended up in Zoom, and I've been here for coming to 3.5 years since. And that's kind of my whole career journey.
Wow.
And
Wow.
as I relate to this journey, I'm sure all of you will be curious, what did I do? How did I went about to find all these jobs? And that's why I want to ask this next question. Can all of you just put in your chat, what are the different type of job search and tactic or strategy that you're aware of, or what you've been doing all this while? Then I'll be able to kind of jump in to kind of share my own journey of what I've been doing.
Okay, so how have you been going around searching for the job? What tactic do you use? Nice.
Okay, networking and applying online, agency, referrals. Okay, what else?
You got
Online
more.
platform, networking, job portals, applying through job portals, LinkedIn, volunteering efforts. Okay, that's interesting. Company website. Okay, so it looks like there are still a few approaches that may be new to some of you that I thought it was worth also bringing up. But let me share. These are all the different approaches that are available in the market today. And if you look at it, mail is a very traditional old method that probably when I first graduated, that was what I did. I still have to print out my CV, send it out by mail, which today nobody does that. I think Eileen will know it.
Yes,
there
very much.
was a lot of fun experience with that as well, because when you send out a mail, you're eagerly also anticipating, waiting for the response. That was the pre.com days.
Yeah.
And then along the way, we have job board advertisement, recruiters, headhunters, referrers, exports, colleagues, client networking, career fair. These are all the different approaches. But what I wanted to share with all of you is this. in my career, during the days when I was in advertising, I started off from production house where I was doing big bus advertising. And guess what? I sent out my first job via a mail. And I did so well with my client. I ended up being hired by my client. Okay, so that's how I ended up in the ad agency. After the ad agency, I had a live episode that I decided to leave. And then guess what? I went back. This time around, it's not mail, but email application. And that's how I ended up in StarHub. Subsequently, of course, I did other approaches with the technology sales. That was also, again, another standard job application. But what really took me into the headhunting industry was actually via an agency. So believe it or not, there are companies out there who do what we call rack to rack. They specialize in nothing but looking for recruiters to place them in corporate companies or place them in agency. And that's how my journey in recruitment actually started. And of course, along the way, I'll be honest with all of you, I never imagined returning back to corporate because I really love what I do in the company I was with. And in fact, the only reason why I got into corporate, guess what? I was actually chasing after a particular client, and the client turned around and invited me to join them instead. So that was how I started in talent, because the whole world was transforming and evolving. And that was where I said, hey, I need to go in and see what is it all about this in-house recruitment world. Because my boss at that point of time sold me a vision that the world is changing, hop on before it's too late or you're going to miss the bus. And fast forward today, after 7 years, no regret at all. And thankfully, all thanks to him. If not, I can't imagine what I would be going through if I was still running my own business during the COVID days. Now, why am I sharing all this with you? Because this is part of the topic about the happiness, where there are two other methods that's actually getting more and more prevalent today with technology that I also want to highlight to everyone here. One is digital CV. Okay, I just posted on my LinkedIn. You can go check it out. I have an ex-colleague that did a wonderful digital CV, and I helped to promote it as well. So you can see it under my post. And that is something that's going to get increasingly more and more popular. And even companies are starting to actually put up interviews where you don't even get to talk to a recruiter. All you do is record a video of yourself and send it over, and the recruiter will start to screen. So the world is changing and evolving. Now, the other interesting one is infographics. I have came across candidates with pretty cool infographic CVs. They didn't have 10 pages. All they did was 1-page infographics. It caught my attention, and I would say, reach out to say, can I have more? I like to talk to you, but I need the proper CV. So that's another example. The last one, of course, is website, online portfolio. That's something that I think some of you here on this call might be familiar, especially if you're a web programmer and so on. I'm sure you would have a website of yourself. Yeah. And what other better way to promote yourself other than having a website of your own where you can showcase all your work and all your profession of what you've done. Okay. Now, happiness. This is what we're all here to come to talk about. This is a very, very interesting topic. And believe it or not, happiness was actually being studied or investigated donkey years ago. Okay, even before, I think as early as the time of the Greeks, where the Greek philosopher Socrates was one of the guys who started it actually. And along the way, it spread and it went on around the world. But happiness starts from oneself. And why am I saying that is because a lot of time when I meet candidates or when we interview, sometimes I love to ask this question to candidate. Can you tell me about yourself? And candidate will start to dive into talking about, oh, here's my career history and everything and so on and so forth, which technically I already have your CV. When I say, can you tell me about yourself? I like to know something that I do not see on your CV sometimes, and very importantly, the personal why. I'm a big advocate of start with why. And those of you who are familiar with this gentleman, Simon Sinek, He's a big promoter of Start With Why. I've taken his class, taken his program, he even has a book, Find Your Why. If you're still in that journey of discovering your why, highly recommend go check out his TED Talk on YouTube. Start with why, or if not, go find his book on Find Your Why. It will help you. And why is it so important? Because happiness starts from yourself. If you don't even know your own why, whatever that's going to appear in front of you when you're searching for a job, you may not even know it, you may not even realize it. The reason why I did all those career moves along the way, especially when I decided to go back to corporate, because I have a very clear why. And my why was to maximize the potential of every individual so that they can help to make the world a better place. And with that why of my own, anything that shows up in front of me, it becomes a beacon, it becomes a compass. It helps me to know very clearly, should I or should I even not proceed to talk? Now, so to help on the why, this is the basic. Have you done a stock take of your life? What are your personal values? Do you even know? What drives you? What excites you? Where is your passion, or what exactly is your passion? And most importantly, what are your strengths and weaknesses? Why is it important? Because if you don't even figure out the basics of this, trust me, when you go for an interview, you're going to be faking it. There will be interviewers who will be asking you questions that you realize you do not have your answers. Why? Because you haven't been spending time to dig deep enough to understand yourself. If you can't even know yourself, how do you expect the next company to be ready to take the bet with you to say, all right, I think I like this guy because why? Because he knows very clearly about himself and how the company and the business and the role matches to himself. Because these are the basic fundamentals. Now, the other thing to take note is this. A lot of candidates actually spend time looking for jobs. And they are so obsessed with looking for a job that it becomes a daily activity that is all about jobs and nothing else. It is a dark whirlpool. And why is it important to be clear of the stage of your life? Now, we all live in this world where every one of us have different duties. Some are parents, some have parents to take care of, some are still doing your education, some are freshly graduated. At different stage of life, you require a different approach to how you're looking for a job. And if you don't even establish where you are now, you're going to have a challenge even starting to find the happiness. It's the same metaphor like you're lost in a forest. You want to find your way out of the forest. First, you need to look at your map and figure out where are you. If you don't even have the basic bearing of where are you, you're just going to go round and round in the forest. Because why? After a while, you say that I'm lost. Why? Because I don't even know where did I started from. Oh, that tree looks familiar. I think I went past it before, but then I can't really recall, you know? So this is where the famous quote by Sun Tzu, know thyself, know thy enemy. If you don't even know yourself well, how are you going to sell yourself to the next company, to the next recruiter or whoever that's trying to recruit you? So this is the basic fundamental that I would say is very, very important. Now, the next thing to help you, now that you've figured out where you are in terms of knowing yourself well, the very important thing that is also hugely lacking that I've observed in the market when I talk to a lot of candidates is most candidates come forward looking for a job with no clear target board of what they're looking for. Why? Because one, most of them only spend less than 76 seconds. There is a study, I think by Indeed.com, that says the candidate takes about 76 seconds to only look at the JD. All they are looking for is the title, the company, the benefits, and some, the location and money, of course. All the above checks out. All right, let's go, let's send. And that's where they start firing from the hip and send out hundreds and hundreds of CVs. I'll tell you all this. Okay, I wouldn't name which company I was with, but I came across candidates who have applied to my company. And when I opened my applicant tracking system, oh my gosh, this guy had applied to 50 jobs in the company. Yes, Elaine, I'm not
What?
kidding you. Yes,
50?
yes.
The closest I found was 5 though, Francis. Closest I found was 5.
So it's an internal joke. Sometimes you'll say, hey, check out this. And you realize that this guy is
Whoa.
practically applying for every single possible roles
Yeah.
available in the company. You know, it is not the right thing to do. And
Indeed.
people who are ending up with such multiple applications typically is because they don't have a clear target board. They do not know what they want. So know yourself first, then build your target board. And how do you go about to build a target board? First thing first, please, everyone, remind yourself there is no perfect job. Okay? There is no perfect job. Every job that you're going to be applying for, I call it a transition job.
Yeah.
It is a midstream transition where you're getting in, pick up your skills, learn what you need before you continue to move on in your journey to pick what you need. The perfect job doesn't exist in the first place. By anyone saying that, and by the way, this is my opinion, if anyone says that, oh, I'm only going to join the perfect company, the perfect job, the reality is this: it will never be perfect. By the time when you arrive and you start, it's like, oh, okay, this wasn't what they said during the interview. Oh, how come I now have to do additional responsibility? So there will always be surprises. So that's the basic minimum that you have to do to start off when you build your target board.
I really like this, Francis. I love it
Yes.
so much. Transition job and not the perfect job, because there will be surprises. What you don't know, what you don't see until you start.
Exactly.
Love
Yeah.
it.
And that's where, how do you go about to build a realistic job criteria? You need to ask a few deep questions. First of all, what must you see in the next company? Every one of us have a different DNA. We all want different things. We will be attracted to different things. And hence, your wants and my wants will be different. Some people will say, oh, I must see a swanky office, must have a pantry and whatever. These are criteria of some people. Some people are more interested in, oh, importantly, I must have a good boss. I must be able to learn. So what are these 5 little criteria of yours?
Yep.
You need to build your own checklist, or I call it a scorecard. Why? So the trick I will share with all of you, and this answers to some of the questions that has been pre-submitted about, not knowing what to do, feeling lost about the job search and so on. Once you have your checklist, the right way to approach a job search is, before you even submit an application, put this scorecard next to it. Okay? Most of us here who have gone through the school education, our MOE education, you will know that maybe my time, I don't know, these days maybe teachers don't do that, but I do know that teachers during my time, whenever we do our exam papers, you would mark your answers A, B, C, D on the left or right. And that's where, have you ever crossed your mind, why does teacher mark so fast with the test paper? Actually, the teachers doesn't have the time to look at all your test script. All they did is they take the original script, they'll cut out holes in all the places where it's the right answer. They'll put the template on top of your script. As long as they see an ink, they will give you a tick. And that's why you also end up having wrong marking.
You are revealing our ages. Stop it.
It's okay. And it's important, Eileen. Why do I want to review the age? It's because age is only a counter of how long you've been on this earth. It doesn't say anything else.
Exactly.
And I'll talk more about the age because I think there's also one question about it as well. And this is where, similarly in a job search, create your own scorecard, your own template. Whatever opportunities that you're reviewing, put your scorecard on top of that job.
Yeah.
Does it even score a basic passing line of at least a 5? Or in some cases, people will say, it's okay, my stage of life right now, I need a job, I need to put food to the table.
Yeah.
I'll lower my criteria at least a 3. Okay? But please do yourself a favor. Never go into a job with no criteria. Meaning that, hey, I'm at ends meet and I really need to put food on the table.
Right.
And guess what? You have no criteria. You just go apply for anyone. It becomes a vicious cycle because you're going to land at next job that you're not going to be too happy about very soon, and you're going to be leaving, and the whole vicious cycle starts.
Yeah.
So to stop it, you need to at least ensure out of your scorecard, your template, At least a minimum 3, or if not, my passing line is 5. If I don't see 5 things, I'm not going to waste time on the opportunity, because I know I'm just going through it going through the motion. And you realize that this scorecard that you have built over time, this will build up to your career, because we want to grow, we want to get somewhere. But for example, if I say I want to be a VP of sales tomorrow, I'm not going to be applying for a VP of sales immediately. I need to start somewhere, and this scorecard goes with you for life, because today I may have found a job that give me the top 3 or top 5 criteria. I learned the skills. I'm going to then tell myself the next job, I need to change my scorecard. Now let's look at it again, review it, and start making some changes. Okay?
I like that. That's one example of being agile as well.
Yes.
Lovely.
And being agile, being nimble, because guess what? We are living in the age of AI. If you don't get agile, AI is going to get ahead of you.
Yeah.
Now, the next part is really to decide on the strategy to adopt. This is important. All of us, and I think all 99 or 100 of you here, I do not know the stage of life you're at. Every one of us are at different stage. So some may be passive. They're not in a hurry, so you're just searching. Some may be in a hurry, or some really are very clear-headed about what you want in your life and where you want to get to. Then you got to hunt. And if you hunt, then you need to use a different strategy, different approach to all those on the slide number 2 that I shared earlier, of all the different approaches to take. Because some of it are passive approach, some of it are active approach. The last piece to attract, that is a branding, which I think Elaine previously have done another session about branding yourself. Go listen to that YouTube. It has all the tips and tricks on what to do. But we are living in this social media age today. It's all up to you individually how you want to attract, because there are 101 ways to do it. Some people who are applying for jobs with TikTok, they will not be shy to do a TikTok video and send it to a recruiter, because that's their culture. It applies. But are you ready to do it? And I think from my own experience talking to a lot of candidates and people that I've coached, people are still living in a little bit of the world of the past. And that is something that we all have to start to be ready to change. Now, the last piece about setting your target board is be realistic with a timeline goal. This is very, very important. I always have hiring managers are not here, so I will not be shy. I have unrealistic hiring managers who tell me start hiring today and fill the role by tomorrow or by the next week or by whatever time frame. There is a recruitment cycle to observe. Anyone who says, I want to be in the job in 3 months' time, you need to have interviews lined up today. If you do not have any interviews lined up today, give yourself a pat on the shoulder and say, let's be real, let's move the timeline. Maybe I need 4 months, maybe I need 5 months. Because why? The whole interview process alone typically will take between 4 to 8 weeks, depending on how fast it moves. For those who are already in transition and looking for the next job, you can start immediately. Sure, 3 months may still be possible. But those who are in a role already, you will need to serve a notice. So how could it be 3 months? And by setting a realistic timeline goal, you will then be able to adopt this happy formula that I'm going to share later on in a more, I call it the sane way, where you won't go crazy. Because many a times I realize a lot of people are looking for a job running around in circles, doing the same thing over and over again. Where I think Einstein once said, right, if you do the same thing 10,000 times, that is insanity. Okay, but if you do the same thing but in different ways 10,000 times, that is really creativity and innovation. Okay, now, so I love to reference, and Elaine knows this, I talk about it all the time. So recruitment to me is like a marriage. Likewise, getting a job is like looking for a lifetime partner. Okay, don't just say, I don't want this, I don't want that. A lot of candidates starts the reverse way. It's chicken and egg story first. Don't start by saying, oh, I don't want a job that's in Jurong. I don't want a job that makes me work 8 hours a day. Start by asking yourself what you love, what you like, what must you see? Build your checklist, then it will start to get more fruitful. Okay, now I'm talking, and if anyone have questions, please feel free to put your questions forward or stop to ask me if you have any opinions or whatever. I'm very grounded that I stand to be corrected if I'm wrong. So, and Eileen, feel free to jump in as well if there's
No,
anything that you'd like to add.
I just want to add on to what you mentioned just now about, writing down what are the things you like and then what you're looking for versus writing down what you don't like. So do the inclusion list before the exclusion list. I totally love that. Totally love that. We know we need both, but just do this one first. Sometimes it's just a subtle change. And then look at how that actually help you to put in a state of receptivity. Furthermore, agile.
Yeah. So I see Celine has a question about current market being really quiet. Is it advisable to wait for the one that we're comfortable with or just grab any job that's available? So Celine, the way I'll answer you is this. What's your definition of comfortable? Do you have your checklist? If you have your checklist, your definition of comfortable will be different because suddenly, hey, this may not be the most ideal job, but it gives me 3 of the things that I want versus that comfortable job that may not even give me a single thing that I want. So again, it is a vicious cycle that comes back where if you're clear about what you're looking for, it will help you to be more targeted. And I want to talk more later on about the formula around how to exercise this. So bear with me as I go along. Now, importantly, I have a formula to keep the happiness in job searching. This is from my own experience.
Good.
This is from also my mentor who have coached me. This is also from my observation of the people that I've coached, that I've shared this formula with them and they've done it and it works for them. But again, okay, it's not the all and all, but these are ideas for you. So happiness actually has been using this formula all along in life holistically, but what I've done is I transform it or I translated it where job search is concerned. So first thing first, physical. We need to take care of our physical body in order to make sure that you have the right ability to find that happiness. If your physical body is not well taken care of, you can't even start to talk about happiness. And I talk it in sequence and I'll explain more in detail later on in individual slides as well. The second piece is the mental aspects, the mind. And the mental aspect here is not talking about psychology, which Eileen is the expert here, the psychologist. I will not try to play the master, but I'm talking from a terminology of job search itself.
Yeah.
Next is the emotional piece. I see a lot of FAQ questions coming through asking about how to deal with this and that. And a lot of it, in my opinion, actually is evolving around the hearts. And last but not least is the spiritual piece, which is your soul, your inner peace that I call it. Now, all of you must be curious, like, wow, Francis, what are you trying to do? Telling me just taking care of these 4 things would work? Well, there is a formula around this. To start off, the physical body, basics of job search, please, for God's sake, grooming, haircut, dressing. This is very, very important. And I'd like to share with all of you, COVID has killed the world to have basic human social etiquette.
Yeah.
Okay, unfortunately, all of us locked up at home for 3 years. Many of us have really lost the social etiquette or basics of it to even know what to do and how to do it right.
Yeah.
And to some extent, well, maybe because of Zooming, people have gotten so comfortable that they have forgotten that, hey, a business setting is still required. Take, for example, I'll tell you a joke. I wouldn't stand up, but I'm telling all of you, I'm dressed in a shirt, in the jeans, and I'm at home. Okay? When I was dressing up earlier, my son was telling me, so he saw me putting on my top, and then he saw me with my Bermudas and said, oh, so now this is true. People really do dress half for Zoom calls. And I look at him and I said, no, that's not true. And ended up, I'm wearing a full outfit today. Why? This is the basic to job search. If you're going into any interviews, be it Zoom or even in person, and you're not dressed for the occasion, you are making a very big mistake. Why? The first 60 seconds is the most crucial in all meetings. I'll look at you, I'll start to scan you. Like Elaine knows, I'll use my spidey sense. I'll pick things up very quickly. Anyone who comes not groomed, not dressed, and let me share this story with you. I ever once had a candidate who came and meet me, and this was during my agency days. When the candidate showed up, okay, no disrespect, but he was huffing and puffing when he entered the door. And I look at him, he was huge in size. And I'm not being biased on his size or anything, but just based on him even huffing and puffing, I was like, what's going on? And I asked him, I said, hey, did you take the leave, or are you okay? Do you want a water? Do you want to take a break before we start the meeting? And he said, no, it's okay. I will huff and puff like that all the time. So that's where he was interviewing for a sales job, and I'm looking at him, I'm like, hold on a minute, I'm sorry. If you're going to be meeting every single client in this state, something is not right. And I had to politely reject him there, and then I also explained to him, and that's where basic haircut, dressing, and even your physical body is pretty important. Which comes to the next part, which is exercise, run, swim, gym, whatever it is, go out to enjoy the sun, the sand, and the sea. Why is this important? In science of happiness, when you exercise, your body will naturally create the happy hormones. Your dopamine, serotonin, endorphins, whatever it is, will all start to flow all over you. And this helps to make a lot of difference to your state of mind. It also helps to make you look different when you show up for interview. Again, like the gentleman that I was sharing with you about that story, he showed up huffing and puffing. And looking at him, my guess is he hasn't been working out for a while. Okay, so think about it. When was the last time you went out to exercise, to have a routine? And most importantly, I also have candidates who tell me, oh, yes, I do swim, I do run. Oh, how often do you do it? I do it like once a month, once a week, or as and when somebody invites me. No, the trick here, if you want to build that happiness, you got to build a daily exercise routine. There is no excuse, because why? You need the happy hormones. Okay, you can go Google research about it. This happy hormones is really important, because if you don't have it, trust me, whichever interview that you go for, you will be impacted and affected. And I've got candidates or people that I've coached that I told them the same. And they do come back and tell me, say, hey, Francis, thanks for your tips. I do feel different now when I go for interview. I speak more energetically, and I really speak with sharpness where I can engage. Even the mind also open up and become more sharp. Okay? So build a daily routine around it. Now, sleep, very important. Please keep to a standard sleeping routine of 8 hours. Many of you will say, oh, come on, this is where I'm sure we do it. But I wouldn't ask a poll. I dare say, if I ask openly now, all 99 of you, you're probably those who are in transition and having a bit of a time, your sleeping cycle is probably a little bit erratic, not a standard cycle. You're probably stretching some days later, some days earlier, and probably you are also having longer sleep beyond 8 hours. Means, anyway, I've got nothing, I will go back to a long sleep. I'll wake up at lunchtime. I'll wake up at whatever, and I'll do my brunch and so on and so forth. So that's where the sleep is so important. Why is it? Because again, the signs of happiness. If you don't sleep well, your state of mind is not well. Okay, Susan, I saw your comment.
I was like,
exercising every day. Well, how you look, then again, you have to. That's another separate topic that we'll talk about.
One, yes.
Yeah, but I don't want to go near it. But I think importantly, we want to focus on the happy hormones. The acronym that Elaine have actually shared about those. That is really the most important thing to help you to get the state of mind. Okay?
I will also add on vitamin D. Vitamin D that's created when you get out in the sun is so vital. But yeah, so
okay.
Good.
Believe it or not, I went for my health check, Elaine. I'm vitamin D deficient. Okay, so I do need to take vitamin D. And guess what? The doctor was just sharing. Many people are vitamin D deficient these days.
Yes.
Because of hybrid work from home, because of COVID, many lifestyles have changed, and hence many people are short of the vitamin Ds. So these are things to take note of. And very importantly, cut away all the junk foods and drinks. a healthy body will give you a healthy mind.
Yeah.
In case you're wondering why do I call out for it, is why I can put myself in your shoes. I've been through it before. When you're looking for a job, especially the stage of life that you're in, the stress will come in. And when stress comes, naturally, you're going to snack, you're going to junk. And when you have free time, you also have all kinds of junk food. Plus, for guys, sometimes we'll go for drinks. And guess what? You drink excessively, thinking that it's fine. And believe it or not, I do ever have interviewed candidates who show up, who smell of alcohol. And you know that he just had a late night and so on. So the whole idea around this physical pace is very important, because without that healthy hormones, the happiness doesn't even start. Okay, so this is something that I would highly encourage. Now, next, we'll go on to talk about the mind. All of you must be wondering, what's there to talk about the mind? Well, the reality is this. I'm not going to go into the psychology side of things, but I want to focus on the job. Yeah. If you are in a job search right now, spend your time upgrading yourself. We are in an AI age. The world is moving very, very fast. It's so fast that I think about 20 years ago, there were a lot of movies talking about how AI is going to take the world. Increasingly, I think that it's going to come true. And while we are not there yet, but if we are not upgrading ourselves, we're going to be left behind, especially when AI could do your work. So go to the library, and please go to e-library as well, podcast. And in case you are not aware, our National Library is awesome. There are tons of free resources, from free newspaper to even Udemy courses. In case you're not aware, as long as you're a Singaporean, you could get into your library account and you can have access to Udemy courses for free. So research and go upgrade yourself in terms of the areas or the topics that you are passionate about, that you have a keen interest to learn.
Yeah.
And when you are searching for your job, please research on the function, research on the company, or whatever that you're interviewing for deeply. Why? I'll say this. I've interviewed a lot of candidates that a lot of times, okay, maybe I'll use Zoom as an example. I still have candidates coming to interview at Zoom telling me that, oh, I know Zoom. Why? Because my grandmother uses Zoom. And then when I ask the next question, so what else do you know about Zoom? Oh, yeah, it's Zoom meeting. And they all just talk about meetings when, hey, hold on a minute, the world has changed. Zoom has now have a suite of solutions. We are now a platform. We're no longer a Zoom meeting alone. There's so much. We have AI, we have Zoom Contact Center. We even have AI summary that I saw Eileen turning on earlier. There are 101 things that's evolving. So this is where a lot of candidates actually neglect this mental aspect of not putting their time to go research on the job, on the company. I have done it myself. Whenever I go for an interview, I will research the hell out of the company. I will look at LinkedIn, I will look at all possible portals and sites, and I will dig every single news. To the extent, I will even subscribe to news channel that will automatically send me news about the company. And that's where you get a expertise by the time when you go for an interview with the company. Okay, network and meet people. Our mind has a capacity, has a limit. If you don't expand your universe and go out and meet people, trust me, you're going to be stuck at the ceiling. You think you thought, and you will keep thinking that this is my best, this is what I know. And unfortunately, once again, I blame it on COVID. COVID has killed a lot of people where they've stopped networking. They have also been stuck in a sense of times where they haven't upgraded themselves. And as a result of that, many people are struggling to handle and cope with interviews to begin with, because you don't have the knowledge, you don't have the idea of what has been evolving in the world to be able to engage the interviewers. Okay? Now, find out the latest industry trends and news. These are very important. If you're not even doing this, how are you going to engage the interviewers? Okay? Importantly, attend conferences, exhibition, learning trips. Okay? Not that I'm trying to promote, but seriously, our government has done a great job with E2Y, WSG, Skills Future. Tons of opportunities to learn there, and tons of opportunity to network as well. Okay? Last but not least, I realize a lot of candidates love to do this. On the day of the interview, they will still be scrambling. It's like going to exam. Oh, today is studying for math. Wow. Before the exam hall, quickly take out all the notes. You're still revising. You're still refreshing. To engage and have a mental or so-called a happiness around your job search. You should be going for your interview on the day of interview happily without even having to refer to your notes or thinking through already. Because that is where your state of mind is at the sharpest. If you're still thinking and worrying, you know what? There are instances. I once have a candidate where I gave him this prep. I coached him on what to do. He was interviewing with a multinational that was a dream company for him. He loved it. He really wanted to get a job. And he asked me to help him. So I helped him, coach him, guided him on what to do. And guess what? By the time, on the day of the interview happened to be at 2 p.m. The whole morning until 2 p.m., he was doing nothing but still researching on the company, still Googling and everything. And guess what? The outcome is he didn't get a job because he showed up for the interview and he went mind blank. He was in this flux where he went to research so much. And even before the interview, he was putting himself through the undue stress that by the time when he go for the interview, the state of mind is not right. All the happy hormones that he had left him. It had already slipped out of the body. So the happiness is gone. Okay? Now, before I move on to talk about the heart, I saw that, and please, Elaine, find me on time. You know me, I'll keep talking and talking, and if I'm running out.
So precious, precious.
Yeah, I still quite, I'm curious to know how companies are receptive towards a candidate looking for transitional role when candidates' experience clearly shows there's value-add transferable knowledge. I'm not sure. Maybe Eddie, I'll take your questions aside. I know you, so I can definitely help you on the side. But I think this is where you need to have a clear plan on how or what is this transitional role that you're referring to. Okay, so it's a case by case. It could be a contract job that you're referring to. I'm not too clear of your questions, but I would need to understand a little bit more and happy to talk to you on the side. Okay. Now, I'll run ahead because I'm mindful of the time. Emotion, very important, me time. A lot of candidates forgotten about your own me time, especially for those who have multiple roles, father, husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, teachers, whatever. You know, we put so much time into our own personal life that we've forgotten to give time to ourselves. And when you don't give time to yourself, you don't search hard enough to be able to find answers that you need. As a result, you show up for your interview not in the best state of mind, and the happiness doesn't follow you as well. And I'll borrow this.
I love this
quote from my author, one of favorite. By the way, Jim, if you're not familiar with him, he's the brain expert. He's the guy. You should go Google him. He has a book. It's called Limitless. I highly encourage all of you to pick it up. It's a very thick book, but it's definitely an awesome book for you to start with. In the book, it talks about kill the ends, automatic negative thoughts. There's a science around it, Elaine. I don't know the exact number, but humans generates X number of negative thoughts every other seconds. And this is where I highly encourage all of you to deal with your hearts. It starts with the head. You need to tell yourself, stop it. The moment you catch yourself having I just finished the interview, maybe I didn't do well. You got to stop yourself. Kill that thought. Don't allow it to linger, because once you allow it, one thought leads to many thoughts, and before you know it, you have 10 negative thoughts that's at the back of your shoulder. Okay? Journal. Now, why journal? It's very, very important to journal your interview journey. I have coached candidates who will come to me and say, Francis, I've been doing this for X period of time, and yet I'm still not getting any success. And then it's like, just the latest interview, I was told that I didn't do well. I think I didn't do well because of this. And then when I start asking, can you tell me exactly what was the question asked? What did they ask you that you couldn't answer? That's where the ers and the ahs starts to come. Why is it important to journal? What you don't measure, you can't improve. If you don't even journal your interview journey that you've been going through, how are you going to be able to reflect later on? How are you going to be able to come to terms and also to deal with your heart, to be able to come to terms and say, all right, I really mess up? Because many times we are all humans. We will have a self-pride to say, I don't think I did that badly. Actually, I think I did well. They were just not fair. They were biased and whatever. But if you journal it down, you start to realize, write down what were the questions they asked you can't answer. What happened during the interview? Where do you think you have missed that? And so on and so forth.
So
And why is
important.
this journal so important? Because the journal is going to be the one that allows you to see the pattern for yourself.
Yep.
The reason why you're not getting to what you need is there is a pattern. You just need to journal it down to be able to see it. And I like to borrow this quote from my wife's gynae, because I remembered this when my wife was expecting, and the doctor said, people love to pay attention to what they can see. What they can't see, people ignore.
Yeah.
Which is the truth. It's the same. If you don't journal it down, you can't see it. You're going to ignore whatever gaps that you have. It's only when you write it down, then you're going to pay attention and say, oh, I think I better start doing this. Okay, daily gratitude, same thing. Okay,
Yep.
we are all creatures of emotions. It is important to be in gratitude of yourself. Happiness starts from yourself.
Yeah.
I think at the start, somebody said, you're happy that the day is you woke up, you're still alive. That's me, actually. Every day when I wake up, I open my eyes. Oh, thank God I'm still alive. I didn't die in my sleep. That's the basic. That's number one. Number two, you got to be in gratitude for those who are in transition, who are still looking for a role. Hey, when was the last time you had time to really took a break? This is the time for you to have a break. At the same time, for you to recharge, for you to regroup, replan. More often than not, we are in the rat race. We are chasing after things and working very hard to make sure that we land the job. But then we forgot to say grace, to say our gratitude. Even to the extent, if you went for an interview, you didn't get the job, say thanks for it. Why? At least I got an opportunity to even show up for the interview. Every small little thing counts. So do your daily gratitude. Don't ignore it. Now, very importantly, the journey of looking for a job can be lonely sometimes. Okay, look for a cheer buddy to share your job search journey. And when I say cheer buddy, I'm not referring to your wife, your boyfriend, your girlfriend. Look for someone who's your friend, or someone that has a lot of positive energy that you can look up to, and you can rub some energy off them. Why is it important to share? Because sometimes, again, if you don't talk about it, everything is in your heart. It's like a time bomb waiting to explode. The more you compress, the more you keep, oh man, I missed the mark again. I didn't get a job again. One time, two times. By the fifth job, trust me, you are a very unhappy man by yourself. Why? You're all bottled up inside. You didn't speak it out. You didn't tell anyone. So that's where you need a cheer buddy. And I've done this with another candidate that I've coached. And at first, when I shared this cheer buddy concept to him, he said, Xiao, who will want to be my cheer buddy? It's like, how can I go and find this cheer buddy? And then I said, no, look for your close friends. Or if not, I'm sure you have friends or ex-colleagues whom you're very close to, that you are in like-minded zone that you can talk to.
Yeah.
And you'll be surprised. This gentleman, part of the reason why he ended up landing the job in the end was because the cheer buddy was the one who actually helped to give him the advice and say, hey, maybe you should try this, maybe you should do that. Because sometimes we ourselves are caught in that whirlpool where we're so lost. We just need a third-party voice to tell us to do the right things. Okay? Now that you have taken care of the body, the mind, the heart, the spiritual is the most important. The inner peace is something that is very, very important. And I highly encourage all of you to connect to nature. Go take a walk, Bishan Park, whatever park, something that is outdoor. Don't coop yourself all at home 24/7 just searching for a job, because that's going to be what you call, you're driving yourself to a possibility of dementia. That's how a lot of people ended up with dementia, because they're all just cooped up at home looking at the four walls every day. Self-reflection. This is very, very important.
Absolutely.
If you don't do your self-reflection to come to terms with your own life, you will never find peace. And when you don't find that peace, you're going to show up for an interview in a very, very bad mood. I've ever interviewed a candidate And believe it or not, the candidate show up looking so unhappy that I was almost like, I'm very sensitive. When a person walks in, I will immediately sense the energy. I'll immediately look at the person's facial expression. I'm like, you don't look too well. And I start off the interview by telling the candidate, hey, do we need to actually move this meeting? And the candidate was actually shocked. It's like, why do you ask? I said, because I can tell that you're not in the best state of mind. Your face don't look too happy. And I'm wondering if you would like to schedule this for another day and we can, it's okay. I can reschedule it. And the candidate actually broke down and tell me, say, thank you very much. But someone in the family just passed on and I'm still grieving about it. So things like this is very, very real, that you need to reflect on yourself. Even ask yourself, are you ready to be in the state to go for interviews? Because for all you know, after you've done your reflection, hey, this season, this stage of life that I'm at, searching for a job may not be the most important. Maybe something else takes a precedent and I should go focus on it, because everyone have a different things to take care of. Now, meditation, yoga, Pilates, do this. Okay, myself, I'm a big believer of meditation. And when I say meditation, nothing spiritual, it is just breathing techniques. Yeah. There are tons and tons of literature out there online and even apps like Calm and so on. You can use it. It makes a wonder, especially before your interview. Try it. Do a meditation for 15 minutes before you go for your interview. You'll find that you will even ace better in your interview. Music, without a doubt. Of course, not referring to those hard rock music. I'm referring to those soothing piano or whatever music that works for you. Okay, importantly, sometimes it's also good to look for a mentor, a counselor, or a coach, because we are none the wiser. And you do need that mentor or counselor, someone that you're close with, that you're comfortable with, that you know you can be vulnerable to talk to. Because it's only when you empty it. So spiritual and emotion connects very closely, because these are two elements that if you don't handle it well, you'll never find the spiritual peace. Okay. Social work. Okay. Somebody talked about this earlier, and I was pretty surprised when I talk about how to look the job search strategy, and somebody talk about community work along that line. And why is it important to actually go out and do some social community work? In a way, you never know who you will meet and network. I've people who told me that they found their job because they happen to know the social enterprise boss who was just looking for help, and he had a job that he needed someone and he couldn't find someone, and they talked and they suddenly, the job landed on the person's lap. So social community work in a way also helps to provide the happiness hormones that you need. Face the fact, all of us, whenever we help someone, we feel good. Your happy hormones will naturally release, and you will feel so good about it that you will start to have that wellness in you to be able to bring it forward to your interview. Now, the next one is really pay it forward. Go help other job seekers. Sometimes we are so engrossed in our own world of searching that, I didn't get that job, and it's like, forget it, I move on. But hey, you know what? There are many, many other people who are also looking for a job. If I can't get a job, doesn't mean that I can't share the job. I've done this before where people knock on my doors and I say, I'm not looking. Hey, why don't you go and call so-and-so? I know that they might be open to explore. Lend a hand, because you never know. One day, whoever you have helped, they might be the next person that lend you back that next role. So never shut yourself out. Okay? Very importantly, the last one, and I learned this from Jim Quick as well. Detox from digital technology. Okay, we are so, I don't know about you all, but I'm very careful here. There are 98 people here. I don't want to have anyone throwing eggs at me. But I've came across candidates who are so focused on searching for a job that their daily routine waking up is nothing but going online, looking at job boards, looking for job opportunities, and their world of digital never stops. To the extent that they even set so many reminders. I've once sat with a candidate where the phone was ringing nonstop. It was the notification was going on. And I was like, do you need to take the call? He said, oh no, these are all my job notifications. Great, you use digital to help you, but that is not the way either. You need to have a bit of a balance. Otherwise, trust me, if you overindulge in the digital technology, you're also going to have a problem when you show up for interview.
Yeah.
Okay, Now, I'm going to wrap up now. The game plan really for everybody is first, do a stock take. Know yourself well. Okay, once you're in the forest, you figure out where you are, then now you can decide on the strategy or tactic to apply. What's the quickest route to take to get out of the forest? Okay, very importantly, if you are looking for the holy grail of the happiness to job search, stop focusing on just searching for a job. Put your daily routine around the 4 key elements of your body, your mind, your heart, and your soul. Build a calendar, put in all your daily tasks that you need to do. And you will realize that suddenly a lot of things change. The energy will change. Why? Because you're no longer just absorbed in searching for a job, but you're also growing and upgrading yourself. And I know there might be people who will tell me that if I don't even have a job, what's the point of growing myself? But the world is at a stage where if you don't grow, the jobs also don't fit you. Increasingly, knowledge is becoming more and more important, which is why if knowledge is power, okay, having the ability to learn is the superpower. This is by Jim Quick. And guess what? In this century, the ability to learn and learn fast is the most important skills that every one of us got to pick up. Okay, and I'll end off by saying that happiness is obtainable by human effort. Okay, quoting Socrates. And all the things that I've shared are basically within our human efforts to be done. Okay, I've answered a lot of the FAQ along the way in the different slides, but I know there may be still some that we will need to tackle.
Yeah. There's a question here. Sometimes I decline an interview for fear that after the interview I feel lousy because I knew that the gap is too big. But for the sake of meeting any potential interviewer and making the best of the opportunity, how do I then manage these low self-esteem moments? And in fact, I would also add in one more. Francis, in your opinion, do you think this professional should also proceed with that interview?
I think to begin with, again, coming back to, do you know what's your scorecard? If you knew your scorecard, you would know what was the strategy that you're taking with the interview. Are you going there to practice your interview, or are you going there to want to win the role? If it is to win the role, let's be real. If you already know that the gap is there to begin with, why would you win the role? Okay, and I would say, if there is a huge gap, so take for example, it happens all the time. I have people applying for a director role, and they are not even managing a team. And my immediate response when I look at such application is, why were you even applying for the role to begin with? Because the criteria states clearly, must have managed a team. So again, it comes back to that part of where are you? What were you looking for? And how does this add up? And so on and so forth. So this is where we have to be realistic about what you're looking for. And there shouldn't be even this opportunity for you to feel lousy about it. Because by the time when you're going for the interview, you already know very clearly, do I fit this role? And if I know that I was trying my luck, I'm giving a long moonshot, then manage yourself at the lowest level first to say that, okay, if I get it, it's a bonus. If I don't, it's perfectly fine, because my objective is an interview practice.
Very nice, very nice. I think the jury is out. I agree with Francis. The next one, which I like so much, is this question: how do I avoid false positivity during the job search? And I have an opinion about that. But you know, Francis.
So again, false positivity, we have to start from, where did you get the sickness? What were the sickness that gave you the false positivity? So I would say, to avoid having a false positivity is be very clear that you don't go into a self-fulfilling prophecy of telling yourself, oh, meeting was good. And, you know, this is where there are certain indications when things are going well. For example, a recruiter who's genuinely interested, they will definitely ask you, when can you start? Or hiring manager may say, hey, how soon can you start? that is a signal, that's an indication. But if a recruiter is just asking you, what's your notice period? Hey, don't take that as a sign that there is positivity, because it's a standard question. I don't need to know how long you take to start. Asking a notice period doesn't mean that you're getting the job. It's just so that the recruiter can manage the expectation of the hiring managers in the event if there is an interest. So you have to listen very intently to be clear where it is or what it is. That's number one. The second thing is, if you journal your journey, you will start to be able to pick up the signals of what are all the false positive signals that after a while you tell yourself, I heard that before. I'm not going to waste time on that one. That's not a real signal. And again, it comes back to what I've shared, because if you journal, you'll be able to know after a while that, hey, there's a pattern. Seems like recruiters love to say this whenever you're not selected. They will tell you, say, thank you very much, but we'll come back to you. Sometimes you will know it. And this is where it is important to put it to practice. That's why journal it down and make sure that you don't give yourself the false hope, especially if there's no ask about next interview, references, talking about money, and even talking about money. Sometimes it is not an indication. Asking for money sometimes for some recruiters is they just want to make sure that they can afford you if they put you through the final round. The real indication of positivity is where, hey, you know what? I have a challenge with my package. I may not be able to afford and attract you. How open are you to talk? Right. That is a positive indication.
Yeah.
Okay. Versus, he asked me for salary, but you know what? The recruiter asked everybody for salary. Not this
Yeah.
So these are the small little signs and symptoms. And I think very importantly is really body language.
Yes.
Be sensitive enough to watch the body language of the interviewer. If the interviewer is dozing off, checking out, you know that, hey, maybe there's something that I missed out and I didn't do well.
Yeah, I really like that, micro expressions. Yeah, micro expressions cannot escape. You can't escape. And if you observe enough, you would know. I really like the part about journaling, because we tend to forget, like, when the recruiter say or HR or hiring manager made some kind of commitment, well, whether they mean it or not, you will only know if you journal and also follow up and track, right? Because most of the time, as long as we have an answer, we don't look back like, if when they say this, do they actually do this, and did I read it wrongly? I really like that one as well. Okay, very good. And I think there's a question in the chat here, right? The question.
I think somebody was asking about managing a recruitment cycle in terms of periods and events, and how would you recommend managing interviewing with two companies that you're keen at the same time. I think I always go by a simple rule: do not lie. Okay, rule of thumb is just be honest, be open. Just say, hey, I'm interviewing with more than one company. I'm at an advanced stage or which stage. Leave it to the recruiters to manage it. If there's a sincere, genuine interest, they will race to catch up on the process. If not, you also will know. But don't use this tactic to go test, because if you're found out to be lying, it can get really ugly and embarrassing as well. Especially, it takes 10 lies. You tell one lie, but you need another 10 more lies to cover up that one lie. And along the way, the recruiter is going to ask you something and you forgot, what did I tell him the last time round? And the whole thing will be the cat will be out of the bag. And as for recruitment cycle, in terms of periods and events, I think it really depends on the type of role that you're interviewing for. Some roles are more straightforward. It could be quick as 4 weeks. Some roles can take as long as 8 to maybe even 12 weeks, depending on the seniority as well. So it really depends on jobs and functions. Yeah.
And what's the longest number of rounds that you have handled before? Not just limited to Zoom.
That's a question that I stand by it, that the rightful way to do it is as little round as possible. So 4 to 5 rounds, I think, is fair. Okay. Anything above 5 rounds, it needs to be a really senior role. Otherwise, why are you putting the candidates through so many rounds? Even for senior roles, actually, there is a initiative going around that we're trying to minimize it, to not have too many rounds, because it can be draining, it can be tiring, especially when the rounds of interviews are not clear, what's the difference of each of the round. You're just going through like a show and tell. But I do see it on the positive side of things, that if you get a lot of rounds, it may not be a bad thing. You get to meet more employees, you get to cross-check your notes, you get to really test the temperature to know, hey, the last guy who told me this, I'll take the same information, I'll ask the next guy, is it true? And for all you know, you realize by the time you talk to the fifth guy, hey, the informations are not coming through as accurately. So this is where it's two sides of the coin. But unless it's a very senior role, seriously, I don't see why you need to do more than 5 rounds.
Okay. So I have to squeeze this one in, because this is one of the early questions, but this one is very good. How do I place age bracket O as an advantage in my job search and application? Have to squeeze it in. It comes out every webinar.
I know. So again, I said this at the start. Age is only a symbolization of how long you've been on this earth. It doesn't say anything else about you. So the way to deal with it is, first of all, it starts with yourself. The age was never an issue. Never build that limiting belief in yourself. Okay? Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. So if you start saying that, oh, age is an issue, trust me, by the time when you go for an interview, unconsciously, it will come out yourself. So the way to handle this is actually in your CV, remove all evidence of your age. Take away the dates of graduate. I mean, don't put in the year, just put in the degree, okay? And at the same time, customize your CV to the role. The JD will tell you very clearly what they're looking for. Put the best experience you have right at the front, not at the back. When you customize and position your core expertise and skills, that's where the whole thing starts to shine. That's why some of the suggestions I gave, infographics. You can have an infographics. And in fact, my opinion is most of the time I tell people, I only look at the last 10 years. Anything beyond that, seriously, that's ages ago. How relevant is it today? There will be some relevance, but I'm more focused on the last 10 years. So there's another quick way to do that for age is focus on your last 10 years. The earlier years before that, just put in a summary to say will be provided upon request. Yeah, there's nothing wrong. You're not hiding anything. Or in some instances, I've seen people who have done it. They just lump up the years from X years to Y years, and they just sum it up in summary. So there are many schools of thoughts around how you can beautify it. So don't let the age be the limitation, because it never was. I myself, when I interview or when I screen candidates, I never go and check how young or how old. And please, in Singapore, I think there's a practice that people still love to put their photos. If you know that age is not on your side and you have a photo that's not so looking that young, then don't put the photo. Otherwise, if you keep to that formula of physically taking care of yourself, grooming yourself well, go and dye your hair, do everything right, take a proper pro pictures, you will still look young and you will still look fine. And make sure you synchronize. Don't end up your CV one photo and then your LinkedIn is still showing that Donkey Kong years photo lah.
You are so right. You are so right. I always say the offline and online must coincide. Right? These two must definitely coincide. Oh, that's so cool. That's so cool. How do we navigate the situation? Squeeze one more lah. If the interviewer asks about salary expectation at the first interview, or you're required to fill up the expected salary in the form, recruiter's point of view, what do you say to that?
How do you navigate about salary expectation at first interview? I think first thing first, you can choose to still not reveal the salary by telling them that I like to focus on the interview. Okay, but again, sometimes people ask because they're just concerned. Like myself, I will always ask people for salary. Why? I want to make sure I give you the best candidate experience. The last thing I want to do is you finish the whole process and I say, sorry, I can't afford your salary that you last were. Okay, so you can start off by always finding out why do you ask. Okay, rightfully, the interview should never start immediately. They meet you. Can you tell me your salary? Okay, then that deserves to be short. It should be getting to know you and understand you before you talk about the salary. And what's wrong with sharing your salary? In case if you're worried that oh, I share my salary, maybe the role can pay more and I'm going to get less. Importantly, I tell people, as long as you're not getting less than your last work, that's already a win. It means don't take a pay cut. Get a salary and must have an expectation of how much you want to grow and you want
Love
to jump.
it. Yeah.
The problem with salary these days is we are having all types of online information that are inaccurate, that people take rock stock bearer and start thinking that, oh, I saw online this role can pay this much. So
Yeah.
I think we
Oh,
spoke about
gosh.
this.
Yeah.
Netflix can
No.
pay a data
Oh, yes.
scientist
That's what-
900K or something
yes,
like that.
Yes.
And I was telling Elaine, in the whole world, maybe only that 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
Imagine
But
that was my question to Francis when we first met.
The whole community of data scientists start saying, oh, we all should be paid 900,000. Base the salary, and these days recruitment are getting more and more sophisticated. Company will pay well and fair as per their internal company equity. So you really don't have to worry too much about revealing your salary. And back to the basics, never lie.
Yeah.
Because
I'm with
sometimes
you.
some companies does have process where they do refer and ask, say, can I look at your salary information?
Yeah. I really like that. Oh gosh. So I think no worries for those of you who are on career break and you have taken up your part-time role and all that stuff. In LinkedIn there's a few. Go to my account. I wrote a post about how you can reflect your career break in LinkedIn. But Francis, do you frown on people who take a career break?
I don't think career break is a bad thing. You just need to have so I always tell the candidates that I coach, if you left a company, especially if it is short stint, if it is career break, put a reason for leaving. Okay, you don't need to share the full reason. Maybe someone is unwell. Just say that had to take care of a family situation or someone unwell or whatever. But at your comfort of what you're comfortable to share. There's nothing to be shy about a career break. I've hired people who are returning moms. They really gave up their career because children are having PSLE and whatsoever.
Yeah.
Does that make them any lesser?
Yeah.
Importantly is the skills. And
Lovely.
to some of the questions that were asked, people were saying, being marginalized and how do I handle all these kind of things? The reality is this. Increasingly, corporates are very big about diversity and inclusion. There are policies and laws around it that we can't be doing all this marginalization anymore. And very importantly, I have a rule of thumb. This is my personal rule. I leave it to you whether you want to adopt. If you're interviewing with a company who already has a biasness and marginalization on you for your age, for whatever reason, to begin with, that's the wrong company to be with.
Yeah.
Why do you even want to associate with a company? It's like, again, coming back to choosing a life partner. If you know that you're going to get married with this person and you already see that this person has a problem with your looks, with your hairstyle, with your height,
Francis,
why do you still want to get married to this person?
They were not thinking about marriage. They were thinking about having a fling. No.
No. Every job,
of course not.
treat it
It's
almost
just
like you're looking for your life partner, treat it like a marriage. And of course, I don't encourage people to keep changing a marriage. But the metaphor around it on how serious you need to pay attention to a job is important. Because why? The job builds your profession, the profession builds your career. If you don't get your job right, you will never end up with a profession. Okay, because why? You're constantly changing your job. I don't like it, I change. I don't like it, I change. But if you have your criteria set up right at the front, knowing very clearly what you need, you realize that you'll be able to follow through, and slowly and surely you'll build this expertise and profession where you're known to be good at what you're good at. And for all you know, the next thing is the market hears about you, and you don't even need to search for a job. The job starts coming to you. And that's why I talk about job searching, job hunting, and job attracting.
Yeah, that's those 3 strategies are really, really good. So thank you so much. I noticed there's like 93 of us here. You are really good.
I hope I've answered most of your questions.
You definitely have.
I'm sorry, the time context, I think we may not have been able to answer every single question, but hope whatever that I've shared helps and it works. So for those of you who are still searching, apply the approach, and remember, don't just spend the whole day searching and searching. keep that four elements of building your physical, your mind, your heart, and your soul,
Right.
and you will find that you become happier. And it's a law of attraction. I really believe that it will spin and the job will come to you very quickly.
Yeah, definitely. So thank you so much, everyone. Please join me to thank Francis.
And I just want to add one last thing. I think somebody was asking about how do you evaluate some of these criteria that the information are not available. Remember, interviewing is not a one-way street. You don't just go to be interviewed. You're supposed to interview them back. If you followed the methodology that I've shared, you would have gathered enough information that you can turn around and interview the company back. In fact, I just did a recent interview, turn around, I'm being interviewed, not me interviewing the candidate. The candidate was so clear-headed that he was firing away all his questions. Okay, so please.
Remember, it's a two-way street.